Well, guys, so it's been a long time since I made a video for the last, and I made it in Bahasa. So basically, this Latopanrita channel, basically, it's all about sharing things. Now I'm going to share about working flesh. Yes, some people might be said it's kind of like a topic that's it's quite boring, but I will say that it's not. It's because basically still relevant up until today. I understood that basically people has a different situation in their workplace, but in my opinion that I need to share what happened to my workplace basically, and then how, for example, I encounter some of like situation that basically maybe some of them really fit with me, some of them really not fit with me. I would say so. It's because that's a kind of like evaluation that my I can share to people as the member of Indonesian people, let's say, as a part of developing countries, or countries which is still like in some extensive left behind comparing to the advanced countries, for example. So I'm going to start my speech in let's say beginning to my story to actually being a graduate from abroad. Then basically I encountered the situation that yeah, I have to facing several things which is new for me, is a real world. So that basically really important, and I think this is really urgent to share to people. Why I say so? I know that living, for example, in the remote areas doesn't give you any chance to actually interact internationally that a lot. Comparing, for example, when you are still in abroad, for example, it's because you are losing your connections, link, and everything. People already working somewhere else. People like my friends doing PhD and such, and the situation basically it's quite difficult for me to maintain first my English, and also like for example the connection that I've met, for example, because I just realized that the more I can do things, for example, the more I have to really manage my time. So that is basically that the challenging and quite nerve-wracking for me. I do believe that some people maybe say, yeah, it's depend on you. You are the one who actually decide what you want. But you know what? Some people can be very good in leadership. Some people just want to be a followers, or just want to follow what actually be prepared. For example, me myself, I'm typical of person. So I would say that I'm really not structured, but really let's say it's a process. I need the process, by the way. So some people really like to take him for granted to the things, for example. That is exactly what happening in my workplace. Sorry to say that yeah, some institutions still quite small, some institutions very it's already been medium, and some institutions is very high level. For example, what I'm trying to say it's here, when you are, for example, in the small institutions, you have to really understand your positions, and then what you can offer. For example, you have to me myself, sometimes I feel like I can do this, but I don't have any facilities. For example, what should I do? So do I have to make collaborations more, or do I have to like for example asking my friends to collaborate, or for example also like try to searching for funding, then I can build my own laboratory, for example. So that's such a challenge that I'm facing off. And the second of all, for example, another thing, it's about the interaction to people. I would say that in the small institution as such, for example, the interaction of people is quite small, but there is also the tendency people is really easy to get, for example, crush each other, or create classes even worse. For example, it's because not too many people like to interact. They can easily see you, for example, you getting improved, you getting progress, or you getting down in some kind, or you don't make your own, for example, your job. So I would say so. And then what I feel right now in my students, that I feel like the communication somehow it's very low communications toward, for example, the top and to the bottom of organizations. take a look, for example, when I facing a problem, for example, you didn't attend a class, you go or not to the class to teach the students either online or offline, and all of the sudden student report that basically only two, and then they just claiming you by number, for example, they quantify your quality by seeing how many times, for example, you teach in the class. And that is exactly what happened to me. What happened is that I have, for example, a leader of my department who already changed, for example, the situation by saying that this person's actually already did a very good job. It's not that less than, for example, 50%. It's already there, it's already okay. But what happened is that the leader all of a sudden come to me and tell me that you're still in the red zone, for example. So how could it be happen? So that's not going to be happen. For example, it's if you discuss, if the bottom of line of the organizations can talk to the top of a leader, for example, because that is not my right. I'm only, for example, original lecturer that I'm teaching at that university, so it's not my way actually to actually explaining more about that. But I complain, of course. What I do is that trying to communicate, open communication, that basically I already attend so many, not so many, basically at least not that they thinks that I am like that worse, for example. So that's kind of the situation. So again, in the workplace, you got to really think about your position anyway. Some people, they think that because they are leader, then they can do anything, for example. So the lower level of the position, for example, they think that you're still new, for example, and you don't have the capacity, and then you are not being heard, for example. And then I think this is the situation so bad. It's because if you don't listen to your, for example, lowest, let's say lower bottoms of your organization, it means that you can't be a good leader, for example. Because what I think is that in whole organizations, such institutions, they have to be really like let's say communications in some extent. You have to like for example, leveling up the communication. Let's say, if there is anything problem in the lowest level, it can be like, for example, first step, what did say the next step, what the last step, and then what's the end of the step, and how to solve it. It's not something that is sporadic. The information is just coming from one person, and then you don't even know what's the effect of that person's that you're telling that you're doing bad, for example, and then in fact you're doing very good. So that is really in contradictive and it's really premature judgment. Okay, I will say for those who actually made it to me to say so to me, basically it's not about like I complaining to that. I just giving you a suggestion to actually like really talking in a good way from your for example from the low level, for example, at least, for example, the third level lower before me, for example, so you can get you can grab all the informations about the situation, what happened. Is it really, for example, only two meetings? It's supposed to be 4 meetings. This video basically it might be about like complaining this kind of these things, but it's a lesson, a learn and lessons. I think that this is pretty important, not only for me, but for those who actually think that they want to be a professional. But you know, like being a professional is just merely about like the existence you physically, but it's about like it's that job, it's done or not. I know that respect coming from people, like if you have regulation then you have to obey that, but you have to also consider the certain situation that people encounter. For example, do they have like a very busy time at that moment and they lose that the meeting to teach, for example? Because what I understood as a lecturer in Indonesia, for example, you got to do Tridharma perguruan tinggi, so you have to do pengabdian masyarakat, penelitian, pendidikan, everything. So many things, especially when you be mandated to have additional job, for example, a position at the university, and particularly in the small university, I would say, such that I'm working on, the communication between the top and the lower, somehow it's missing, you know. I thought that the information, for example, already been solved in the topmost level, for example, because it's coming from the lowest. But somehow there is some missing positions in between, like, for example, top and the lower. So the top can be tell to the lowest persons to actually, you have a very, you get a problem. You are in a red zone, for example. But there's some people in the medium level, for example, they have to really talk to the lowest level because I don't have any right to do so. So guys, I hope this video, it's not only about, for example, I'm speaking English and also and trying to also share openly to public about what happened, because I didn't mention any name. I didn't mention, if you guys notice that basically this person's already talking about me, you can notify me, and I want to clarify that, because what I'm trying to say is sharing. What is important? Don't get me wrong. It's because this video basically to practice my English, because I just realized myself that basically I was in Europe twice, and I feel like my English is getting worse just because I never communicate well to people. I mean, I would say that's a very limited. So I realized myself that before I do my PhD, I have to really talk in English. So I'm sorry for my followers who actually follow me maybe, and they need, for example, Indonesian stuff. I'm sorry I couldn't make it anymore. It's because I think that English is something that I have to really maintain through this video. That's why I got to watch a lot of like English context video, and something that I'm going to really, I know that basically my English never been perfect, even I'm still a student of English department at one of the public universities. At the same time, I'm still like watching a lot of English content videos. So anyway guys, I talk too much anyway, so I hope next video I can manage it very well. Yes, of course, like every video that I am going to upload it, since I'm going to start this month at least once a week, then I'm going to give a topic. So yeah, perhaps maybe I'm going to talk about education and a lot about politics in my view, because actually I'm really actively engaged to debating community. So that's kind of the things maybe I can share. If there is anything wrong, you can like just comment down below of the comment sections, because that way actually I can see and I can recorrect the way I'm speaking, or the way I'm actually approach a certain community, or how I structure my speaking, for example. Because the first purpose of my making this video, first sharing, the second of all, like I'm practicing my speaking, and also like I'm going to getting back my rhythm in speaking. So that's all. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I didn't really open it. So I would say that thank you very much for your attention, and then see you in the next video.